Let the anticipation build, let the thrilling elements build, and then when you pay it off, it'll feel better later.
What screenwriting advice do you hold close to your heart?
I mean, for me, it's always starting with a great concept, trying to figure out something that feels fresh, that feels a little bit different, that feels like something I would want to see. That's important to me. The advice you'll get about conflict in a story is so important. To have characters, have good opposition. That's something I always got to keep in the back of my mind to remember. And then I think a little bit what we talked about with notes or the filmmaking process is being open to new ideas, being open to creative solutions, and also just remembering like a big part of screenwriting is troubleshooting. So I think that's kind of the big advice I've gotten to, is like a lot of this is putting together a puzzle. So just remembering that.
Would you say you're more linear in your thinking?
Yeah, I'm more linear. Yeah, I'm more linear when it comes to with story stuff. But I think I always like to, with me, I like to have. You don't want to overuse like flashbacks and jumping around too much like that. And again, I think it goes back to genre, right? Of things being a puzzle. Because with Hot Seat, there is some twist elements, and there is a kind of a side character that we learn their story down the road. So I think that it is a little non-linear, but I think when you're starting out writing your outline, for me at least, I am pretty like beginning, middle, end linear, and then along the way figuring out how can we surprise the audience, how can we twist it, how can we surprise the character. Yeah.
And with conflict, if you're in a contained environment, how is that? Is it mostly the character has conflict with themselves? Or, I mean, you're adding, I don't want to give too much away about the Hot Seat, but.
I mean, I think it's like, you put two people in a room, what else can you put in there with them to add the conflict? Is it a secret that one of them has about the other person, Is it just two conflicting personalities, Is it one character has a goal and the other person is blocking that goal? So I think it's kind of that, finding that kind of back and forth conflict of dialogue, even if there's not a weapon in the room, it's using that kind of verbal weaponry against each other. And having a good villain to a character, it's always someone who knows their weaknesses. They know how to kind of pull that out. Yeah, and I think it's always like, giving the audience, don't throw it all out at a time. Like, let things build. Appreciate those moments. That was another note I got a long time ago that stuck with me, was like, sometimes it's like, it is good to slow the pace down and not get everything out there so fast. Like, let these moments build, let the anticipation build, let the thrilling elements build, and then when you pay it off, it'll feel better later.
And at some point, the protagonist is going to have some intel on their antagonist, and they'll know their Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And you can kind of play with that as
well.
well.
Yeah, I think it's about characters in a room, or in knowing each other's secrets, or learning new things about them. And then the audience kind of gets that aha moment when something new's kind of revealed, or a character even slips up. That's always fun when a character lets out something they shouldn't. So I think there's so many different ways to kind of play with conflict with characters. If it's a poker game, maybe one guy's got a gun under the table. If it's a poker game, maybe one guy's got a secret on this guy, or the stakes are bigger for one character than another. There's just a lot of different ways you can up a scene. I feel like up the stakes.
If you are writing a story, you may be interested in our new book, the sponsor of today's video. After months of working on a story, have you ever said to yourself, I don't know what my main character wants. Why are my side characters more interesting than my main character? 17 Steps is a workbook-style tool with specific questions to help you dive deep into your main character and story. We've linked up to 17 steps below. Now, back to the video.
I'm curious how you would classify what a screenwriter does. Let's say you were invited to a holiday dinner and they say, Collin, what do you do? Well, I'm a screenwriter. Oh, what does a screenwriter do?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that encompasses. But I think at the heart of it, it's like you're the person who comes up with the nugget or the kernel of an idea for a movie, and then you take that and you try to make a blueprint for everybody else. You try to make it something that's so exciting that people want to read it, that a director who can visually see it and turn it into something else. So I think it's like, being a screenwriter is somebody who starts out with the kernel of a creative idea and helps that thing grow. And, ideally it's like you're seeing it towards getting somebody else to buy into your product, to buy into the story. So I think that's what, a screenwriter does. It's just like starting from point A and just trying to figure out how to get to point Z. And then other times it's like job as screenwriter is rewriting something, or having a fresh take on something they might already have, whether it's just an idea they have the rights to. I think it's somebody who can take that and bring their own vision to it.
And what does a screenwriter do all day? Or is it not a daily job? There are times when you're not actually
pound your head against the wall. I mean, I think it just depends. There's so many, I guess there's just so many different facets to screenwriting in this industry. I mean, I think it's like, ideally it doesn't always happen. You're putting in pages like every day. You are moving the ball forward on new things every day. Sometimes it will be, having a general meeting, meeting an executive for a coffee. Sometimes it's going to a networking thing, meeting another writer, or being part of a writing group and having that regularly scheduled thing. But I think always it's like you always got to be creating new things. You've always got to be committed to creating new pages and pushing the ball forward always. But I think day to day it can change, especially when it comes to like production, because that's just such a different beast. Whether you're taking the feedback on set and changing it, or you're kind of wearing multiple hats on set, just trying to get this thing made.
And so with Hot Seat, there was what, like maybe several weeks where you were getting notes like, hey, can we change this real quick?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, hey, we have some big actors we'd like to go out to for this role. Can you guys beef this up really quickly? So it was like, okay, push everything else to the side. This is our focus. Like, this becomes priority number one. Let's see how we can get this back to them, but do the best job possible. And I think, when it's things are getting close to production, or it's going out to an actor, it's like you got to move that to your top priority to get this ready to send to them, because you never know when the opportunity is going to come again, and you never know how big or small a window is for someone to be excited and interested.
Yeah, and that goes into being easy to work with.
Yeah.
And that's so much in this industry.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely a big part, is someone who can get along with you. I mean, because it's like, a director and a writer or a producer, it's like you're going to be in contact with this person a lot, whether it's phone calls, Zooms, on set. It's like you want it to be somebody you like. So I think that is something that's a sometimes a forgotten element of like, it's important to be able to get along with people too, which is anything, right?
Right, and there are times when you will clash with someone, but then just keeping it professional, even though this is maybe not my chosen, this isn't someone I would want to go on a road trip with, but I can still make it work.
Yep, everyone's going to have varying levels of difficulty to them as you kind of work your way up. Whether it's a producer, whether it's an actor, I mean, everybody's going to have their feedback on your script. Everybody's going to have obviously their own personalities and their own views. So it's figuring out how to make that work, and like you said, making sure you stay professional, and not to take things, as a writer, not to take things super personally, because you just got to remember, everybody's coming at things from their own insecurities or their own POV or their own ego. So in an ideal world, it's like everybody's working together, remembering that the goal is to get this thing made. That's always the goal for me, is to just remember, okay, I don't want to be super precious with this. If this is what they want, let's try to get this thing made. Yeah.